Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Storytellers Summertime Edition. Got a beautiful summer day here. I was planning on doing this outside on my iPad, but then I realized, and having a cigar, which was the main reason I was going to do that outside. But I found out that I couldn't share screens if I needed to, and sometimes it's hard to read the chat. So I had to say, well, I'll do it from inside here. But if it's still nice, I might have that cigar later. But welcome, welcome. Just a relaxed show tonight. I want to hear from you guys. What's on your mind? We do our shows and we get on. We get to um, uh, espouse our views and the ideas that are in our heads and all that kind of stuff all the time. Uh, but I like to know what you guys are thinking too. What's going on in your world? What's anything happening great? Great vacation? Are you into anything you want to share? Um, Something bothering you? There's plenty of that stuff going around. Uh, Plenty of stuff to bother us, but maybe we'll talk about some of that stuff that's happening in the world. But we'll try and keep it positive and talk about a lot of cool stuff. Uh, let's see who's in the chat. We'll say good evening to them first. Dr. Mask is here. Hello, Citizen Ronan. The Normie Nerd says good evening, Graham and chat. Quint is here. I just noticed your avatar. That's cool. um, well, that's me. JP Roca. What's good? DJ Close. George Travelos. Hello, George. Haven't seen you in a while. All right, everybody, take a drink. Fucking mouse. It's one of those touch ones, and if you move your finger wrong way, it shifts everything off, and I knocked myself out. Yes, Dr. Mask, you can drink. Everybody, enjoy. Citizen Ronan says, calls me a boomer. That may be true, um, but I'm blaming this damn mouse. It's very sensitive. Might have to adjust that. Um, so until you guys start chiming in here, I'll talk about some stuff that's on my mind. Uh, I've railed against King Features in the past. I worked for them for a lot of years. I found that as a company, they don't really care too much about their legacy characters. And one of my favorite characters and cartoonist happens to be E.C. Segar, who created Popeye. And if you've ever read any of Segar's Popeye, um, you probably wouldn't recognize the Popeye that you've seen for the last 30, 40 years. Popeye, like Superman, was a character that had to get homogenized because it got so popular. Uh, but with that homogenization, they took the edge off of him. And it was those edginess in his comics that I loved. Um, Popeye was the original badass. Wimpy was such a great character. I mean, there was one strip where he was after this cow, and the last panel is this gigantic panel of Wimpy sitting there by a fire with hamburgers all around him, a cow head sitting there with the X's over the eyes, and he's got a meat grinder going. He's churning out hamburger meat, and he's got a pile of hamburgers there. No way that would fly today, but it was funny as hell. All that to say that in 2025, um, Popeye becomes public domain, and that means anybody can do Popeye comics, which is really cool because finally people can do the kind of Popeye that Seaguard did, and I might even do something with it, in 2025 once that comes to pass. Um, So I just wanted to mention that Billy had brought it up on the professionals at the very end, and he sent me the link to it. It's a law firm actually um, that let me see if I could share the screen here. There we go. Yeah, in the U.S., Popeye is considered work for hire because Seagar was an employee of King Features at the time. Um, that means Popeye will enter public domain in the U.S. January 1st of 2025. That is really great news. Conan's not that far behind either, by the way. Um, the thing is that a lot of these characters are already public domain overseas, in Europe. In fact, let's see. I think it says in here. Um, yeah, Popeye was public domain in Europe in 2009, and in Canada 20 years before that. So what was that? 1989. Popeye was in public domain in Canada in 1989. Wow, that's crazy. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Some more people have popped in. Pops is here. Statistical Zero. Marcus Kellebrew is also here. Hello. Uh, George would rather see me do Conan than Popeye. Well, when the two are public domain, we could do Conan meets Popeye. Um, and my money is on Popeye on that one. Slasher horror 1980 says, hey. Uh, Citizen Ronan, I think I said. Man of War 665, Neighbor of the Beast is here. Hello. Good to see you. Oh, Christina Lynn. Hello, Christina. She says, I liked the Popeye cartoons when I was a kid. I never knew it was a comic first. Yeah, those old Max Fleischer ones, particularly the black and white ones, before they gave Popeye the navy outfit, the white one. Those are particularly good. They really captured the strip. But today's show is not about Popeye. That was just something I wanted to bring up because I thought it was really cool. Um, I want you guys to tell me what do you guys want to talk about? What's happening in your world? Um, Anything exciting? Anything bothering you? You know, pop it in there. Well, let's get some conversation starters going. Questions you want to ask, that kind of stuff. Um, are you guys? I'm assuming since uh, most of you guys read comics and hopefully mine, um, that you're readers and love and appreciate books. And we have a incredible bookstore uh, just outside of Buffalo. It used to be in the city of Buffalo. It's called Old Editions Bookstore. It is gigantic. It used to be 3 stories, and the owner had to move it to a like a warehouse style building because to put everything on one floor because he was older and he couldn't go up and down the stairs anymore. But anyway, Julie and I. We go to this place maybe once a year or something like that, and we spend hours in this place. I mean, they have um, collectible paperbacks, hardcovers, first editions, ephemera, um, eh, stuff you wouldn't believe you could find there. Um, my daughter Sarah was up with her fiance Willard recently, and they're both voracious readers. So we took them over there and we spent a couple hours, strolling around, and everybody walked out with stacks of books, this high. Um, I found some stuff that I've been looking for a long time, and I found stuff that I didn't know I was looking for until I saw it, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds cool. I got to read this." But one of the books I've been looking for a long time is Cyborg by Martin Caidin, which is the book that introduced Steve Austin, who became the $6 Million Man on TV. And I always wondered what that book was like versus the teleplay or the pilot movie that they did. And so I'm looking forward to reading that. I also came across a couple Elmore Leonard hardcovers, first editions. I found I can't remember the title of the book, but it's the first appearance of Raylan Givens. Um, if any of you guys ever watched Justified, which if you haven't, put that on your queue and watch that show. It's amazing. But the book I ended up picking up is the first appearance of Raylan Givens. I also found this is one I wasn't looking for. It was a paperback book, a sci-fi book by an author I never heard of from 1979 called Earth Has Been Found. And just the title alone and the way it was written, it kind of looked like a 50s sci-fi poster type of thing. And basically, Earth has been found by another race of creatures, and they're going to come and take over. They're sort of parasitic. I haven't read it yet, but that was like, well, I got to have that. It was only $2. It's like, well, how can you go wrong for $2, right? At a cool bookstore. Let's see what else did I end up getting here. I know there was something else. I can't remember now. But if you're in the area, if you end up in Western New York, I think it's in Tonawanda, um, which is north of Buffalo. It's either in Tonawanda or North Tonawanda. So if you like great bookstores, check that one out. Let's see if anybody's got anything they want to talk about here. Mark Penguin, Graham, what is the issue number of the Batman comic you showed off recently that has the jam cover of you inking over Dick Sprang? I gotta hunt that one down. That was a specialty book. What the heck was that called? It was basically all posters or pinups. It was like a pinup book, basically, a Batman pinup book. Gosh, I can't remember what the name of it was. Yeah. We're on the computer, right? Should be easy enough to find. Oh, let me remove that. You guys have had enough of that, right? Okay. We'll type in Dick Sprang vein. Let's see what there it is. Let's see what that was in. Vein drama. No, it doesn't say what that book was. Oh, Batman Chronicles. There we go. Batman Chronicles Gallery #1. There you go. There you go, Mark. George loves the $6 Million Man, the Bionic Woman. Oh, which reminds me, if the $6 Million Man Blu-ray set just came out on Amazon, it's got all seasons plus the movies, and then it also has the comeback movie. I guess it was in the '90s, where Steve and Jamie get together, and there's one where they get married and all that. And then it also has the episodes of the Bionic Woman that tied into the $6 Million Man. It's expensive. I'm not sure I'm gonna pull the trigger on that yet. I might just wait until see if it comes down a bit. It's like 100 and I think it's $180 for the box set. I mean, yeah, there's like 31 discs in it, including all the extras and all that kind of stuff. But that's a lot of money. And I know there's going to be some stinkers in there. It's a '70s TV show. I go in with the best of intentions and to watch these things sometimes, and then when I put them on, I'm like, whew, yeah, just the style of filming, the effects, whatever. They can they can be pretty bad. But I did see some. I have some of the DVDs of the $6 Million Man in the first season, and those are all they're pretty good. Some of the pacing's a little slow on some of them, but I think it'll be worth it. I don't know if it's worth 180 bucks, but we'll see. It's coming down. Christina Lynn says, I inherited a book of Smithsonian's greatest comic strips from my grandparents. I got to read it this week. Oh, that's a great book. Um, my mom got me that years ago. Hey, Phil from Zaid Comics. Uh, they have their summer pinup book, the swimsuit issue, that's available now, and the Chinoo's in it. So you guys should go check that out. George has a question. Everything is good with Compass Comics, but I do have concerns about other crowdfunded books that are excessively late. Do you think late crowdfunded books impact the funding of others? I think the short answer is yes. I think late books will make buyers regret, and some buyers, if they got burned by somebody else, might not give me a chance. So yeah, I think that late books um, are a problem in that people have to be more realistic with their deadlines. It's irrelevant of how long it takes to complete it if the backers know that if you're up front, you say this is going to take me 2 years to do because A, I'm not that fast, and B, I want it to be, I'm a perfectionist, I want it to be perfect, and then you back it. Okay, well, it's going to take 2 years, and you just wait, and if he turns it around in 2 years, then everything is cool. But if you say it's going to take 6 months, and it takes you 2 years, or 2 years later you haven't done it, whatever that time frame may be, then yeah, that's a problem. But thankfully, at Compass Comics, that is not an issue. Uh, I know deadlines. I've lived by them for 39 years. Never missed one. Not of my own um, issue. I've missed it because of editorial changes or something like that. Um, but yeah, most of the guys, especially, yeah, I know every one of the professionals, very, very minded of this kind of stuff. And like Aaron, he turned his first book out right on time and did an awesome job. Billy, he's a machine. He gets his stuff out. Andy's done two of them. His is great. So um, I guess the short answer is yes, but I guess the flip side is that is if you're first time backing somebody like us, like me, um, and we deliver on time, it does the same thing. I think it gives you confidence to dive into the crowdfunding world. Marcus says the FBI raid of Trump's house bothers me. Well, it bothers me too, Marcus. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered in that. Um, we already know the FBI had been compromised by their complicity in the whole Russia boondoggle, which was proven to be false. So it makes you wonder, what the real reason for this is. Now some people are saying, well, you had to go through the process, and they must have a heck of a lot of evidence to get this thing passed through. And in a normal world, I would say you're right. Yeah, yeah. But we've lost trust in these government agencies because uh, they have been untrustworthy in recent years, and so that's a bad thing. It's bad for America, and it's bad for morale. And we really need to do something about it. We need to get people in there that are going to clean house and get rid of these political ideologues and wonks on both sides. Yeah, they're on both sides. Dan Lawless will be chomping at the bit to get some public domain Conan content going. Oh yeah, He's probably working on it now so that, when day 1 comes, bam, Dan's launching a book. Good evening, Stat. What's the progress on Ghost of Metacumba Key? Well, not a lot yet. I've been too busy uh, getting all my ducks in a row for um, the fulfillment of Giant Size Two Fisted Manly Tales. Julie and I ended up getting a fulfillment center that we're renting, which is only a mile from the post office. We've been setting that up. I've been ordering supplies so that when the books ship to me, which by the way, appears to be around September 22nd. I asked them to cut that back to maybe 2 weeks, second week of September, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do it or not yet. But if they can't, that's when the books will ship to me around the 22nd of September. And as soon as we get them, we'll have the fulfillment center all set up, and then we'll just bam, 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 and start shipping them out. Um, I'm gonna launch, Ghosts of Matacumba Key before that happens because, um, you know, timing being what it is, I think it's important to get that second book going because, there's nothing coming in right now. The campaign is closed, so there's no income coming in. So, uh I'm going to be able to do two things at once. I'll get that campaign going, and then when the books come in, Julie will be handling fulfillment, and I'll help out here and there. But it's really she's going to be the fulfillment queen, and she'll hire people as needed, or if she can do it all herself, more power to her. Um, so that's been taking up a lot of my time right now, and some other ventures which I've got going as well. But the story is there. I'm ready to roll on that. Some of the designs are done. I just gotta get a few more designs so that I can have something for the sign up sheet, and the sign up sheet will go up probably in a couple weeks. Um, so, I'll let you guys know when that happens, and I want everybody here to sign up for it. And better yet, back it. It's going to be an amazing story, and it's going to have an ending like it's going to make you go, "What the fuck? Holy cow!" Let's see. Gray Moon went to Terrificon and heard you were told there were no available tables, even though there were a number of empties there. No, that's not correct. It was a question of budget. Mitch had, you know, because of all the extra costs of flying and everything else of costs going up, his budget was tapped out for guests. And I was coming in at the last minute. I was supposed to be in TampaCon that weekend, and they canceled out because they got bought out by somebody else, and they didn't want to honor my contractual needs. So I said, where I'm out. So then I contacted Mitch and said, "Hey, I got the weekend open now. If you want me to," and he said, I can't do it." So uh, that was that. So, but next year I'm going to be ahead of the curve because I love Terrificon. It's such a great location and just great fans there, and I always do well there. So I'm hoping to be there next year. Citizen Ronan is working on a 4 foot by 7 foot Star Wars mural in acrylic. Wow, that's cool. Uh, any chance of Skywolf popping up in the Nolanverse? Nope, no chance at all. I don't have any rights to Skywolf. I'm not sure who does. I mean, Eclipse had it. Um, maybe Chuck. Maybe Chuck has it. I could certainly ask him, and if I wanted to put him in, I'm sure we could work something out. I've always been a book reader since I was little, currently reading A Storm of Steel. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Mr. Munoz. Prater 7 says, when I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do is browse bookstores. Still love to, but there are less of them. There are, and particularly the old bookstores. You walk into those places and there's a smell, and you're like, oh, it's it's the decaying pulp paper, but I don't care. It is a smell that takes me back to childhood. That and model glue. That's a whole nother story. But when I was a kid, and I was growing up in Long Beach, Long Island, there was 2 places you could buy comics. One was called the Laurel Luncheonette, and the other was the Cozy Nook. And again, it was a luncheonette. Uh, and if you aren't familiar with that, it's they have a long um, like diner table, a counter, I guess is what you'd say, counter, where they would serve hamburgers, sandwiches, hot dogs, coffee, breakfast stuff, egg creams. Um, and then the other part of the store was a newsstand. They would sell all the local newspapers and comic books and magazines and all that. And you'd walk in there, and you'd get this mixture of smell of pulp from the comics and the newspapers, and the smell of cooking hamburgers. And oh my God, that is heaven. You want me to, if they can make cologne that smelled like that, I'd be all over that. Marcus Calabrew is a Elmore Leonard fan as well. Excellent. Stat Zero says Justified is one of the best TV shows out there. Couldn't agree more, bud. That is so, so awesome. Uh, if you want to get a taste of it, uh, um, go into YouTube later after the show, and type in Justified. Let's see how would we put Justified knife at table, and it should pull up the sequence where Raylan is sitting at a table with this psychotic hitman who uses a knife, and that's all I'm going to say. And look up that scene, and after you watch that, you're going to want to watch this show. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. JP Roca wants to know what platform Justified's on. Might be on Hulu. It was an FX show originally. So whoever has the rights to the FX shows, I thought it was Hulu, but I could be wrong. Maybe somebody in the chat, as I scroll down, might have already answered that question. I don't know. Marcus says he's a John D. McDonald, Travis McGee fan. Yeah, me too. I like. I find McDonald like Elmore Leonard in their quirky characters. Also, a lot of times there's a Southern Florida feel to it. Well, certainly in McDonald stuff and Travis McGee. Um, but Elmore Leonard does that really well, and Carl Hyacin too. When he's not, laying on, some of his politics. I really, really love his writing, his books too. They're a lot of fun. Dom Gomez has a question. I'm graduating high school this year and want to attend the Cuban school, but I live on the West Coast. What was your experience moving away from home? Oh, well, it's a necessary evil. I mean, it's important to move away from home. That's where you do a lot of your growth. When you get away from the umbrella of your family and your parents, particularly, and you meet new people, and you get exposed to new ideas, and uh, uh, you grow. You grow as an individual. And when you're going to school, you're focusing on your lessons and your learning and all of that. I had a great time at the Cuban school. I went 1 year, ran out of money, went back home. I went to a local community college, and Brevard County, Florida. Saved up some money, came back for a second year, ran out of money again, and and then I never went back for the third year. It was a 3-year school back then, because I started getting work, and I didn't want to move back home. I wanted to stay where I was because I was close to New York City. Because Hubert School's in Dover, New Jersey. You can hop right on the train or drive Route 80 and be right in the city. And of course, back then, Marvel and DC were in the city. Now only Marvel is there, and who wants to work for them anyway? Oh, hey, Andrew. We had a cigar together at MegaCon. Oh, good times. All right. That was a lot of fun. We had a good turnout for the Hawaiian Shirt and Cigar Fest, which, by the way, because it's summer and we're having this nice little conversation episode today, I wore my Godzilla shirt. Look at that. Is that awesome? I wear that at conventions too. I think on the back it's like a big Japanese. You see that? That's a cool one. Sam Milazzo's here from Australia. I can stay to watch for a bit before I go out. All right. Glad you're here. I'm a fan of Donald Westlake. I've never read any of his books, but they're highly recommended. I'll have to check them out. Did you see the Samaritan trailer with Stallone? If so, do you have an opinion on it? I haven't seen it, but I have seen the trailer for his other show, where he's a hitman that goes to someplace in New Mexico. I think it's by the people that do Yellowstone, and that looks really cool. I'm really interested to see Stallone in that role. Harold wants to know what the number for Captain Fear. What issue of Detective Comics Captain Fear appeared in? It was in the 680s. So I want to say around six. Let's see. Captain Fear was before. It was before. It was before the Penguin story, I think. Whew, gosh, we're going back a lot of years, but I want to say it was 681. No, no, no. It was after because they changed the paper type, so it has to be 685, maybe 680, somewhere around there. 685, 86, something like that. How long do you think Jim Lee will remain at DC? And would you like to? Who would I like to see take his place? Yeah, well, Jim has pretty much just been a figurehead up there. Uh, he's doing probably more freelance work than anybody, yeah. And he's an executive there. Uh, so I think his days are numbered, to be honest. As to who would get in there, I think what they need is somebody who came up through comics, who actually worked in the trenches, somebody that understands, what it's like to work, as I call it, the gulag. Because Jim Lee never did. He hit it pretty big, pretty darn fast. So he wasn't toiling month to month looking for jobs for any length of time. But people that had executive positions there that did do that stuff, guys like Dick Giordano, even Paul Levitz, started off as a freelance writer and worked his way up. Those guys knew what it was like, and it was those guys that made working for DC much more pleasurable because they understood what it was like to be a freelance, what the downfalls of freelancing were, um, how very little, you know, monetary rewards you get. So at least they could make it uh, easier for you, and watch your back and take care of you. And I just feel over the last over 20 years at DC, they have not done that. They've become more of a corporate, an empty corporate shell, um, with people that are just looking towards their own bottom line, which is not unimportant. If DC actually um, focus more on their bottom line these days, they'd be better off by putting out stuff that they know will sell instead of stuff that comes from an ideological bent, which doesn't sell, which is what's killing them. So I guess the answer to your question is somebody who's not an ideologue, somebody who's a businessman, and somebody that came up uh, through the ranks. A guy like what they really need is like a gym shooter, a young gym shooter to come in and really, really just take the take the broom and clean out the ideologues and start hiring people whose job it is to sell comics. That was a long answer, but I think I covered it. Richard Hupperts says 25 to 30 years ago, you would have two types of used bookstores, the ones with cheap paperbacks and the ones with old hardcovers. Well, I guess there's three because then you had the ones that had both. At least those are ones I used to find. Ellie Munoz wants to know what happened when EVS found out his beer was a non-alcoholic. Did he get you guys back? Maybe like exploding cigars. When we were in New Jersey, Ethan got up to go to the bathroom, and Billy and I ordered. He was drinking like a Heineken beer or something like that, and we ordered him an NA beer, but we kept the Heineken bottle out next to his poured beer, and he's drinking it. We're laughing our asses off because there's no alcohol in it. Good beer. Now he didn't do anything to get back. He thought it was funny. Um, Pops wants to know, during our interview, we talked about the horrible JLA Predator situation, and I was asked if you still have your original art. I do. I still have a bunch of the original art from that. Some of it went to Randy Elliott, the inker, a third of it, and then I still have two-thirds. I still have my $6 Million Man Play-Doh set. I didn't even know they made a Play-Doh set. That's cool. When you squeeze out the Play-Doh, is there like a sound effect that goes? "Tut, tut, 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 tut." That's what they should do. George Traveler says he loves Compass Comics. Thank you, brother. Man of War 665 Neighbor of the Beast. Can't argue with any of that. I'm sitting on about half a dozen C notes worth hanging out there in the breeze. Um, I think that's referencing late shipping of books that he had backed. And I'm really sorry to hear that. Uh, Micro says, I understand the kind of act of God delays books had because of the coof and thing like Frega's health issues. Yeah, and now what you're running into supply chain issues, ship delays in shipping product, um, some of the coatings, chemical coatings that go on the books, and there's paper shortages too. Thankfully, uh, I chose a paper that they had in stock, um, and I upgraded to it. So uh, that's not what pushed mine back because my original fulfillment date was August. But I upgraded it to hardcover for everybody. And that's a whole different process of the hardcover has to be done separately. And then the binding is different. So that adds a little extra time as well. So that ended up pushing it to beginning of September. And then the Rona hit the printers who handled the proofs. And so the proofs were delayed in getting to me. Uh, but I went through them in a day. I found a problem. I got it squared away, and I said, "Okay, approved." But that delay from the proofs pushed it back another week. So that's why we're back at September 22nd. Nothing I can do about it. Did the best I can. And I know the backers are going to completely understand that because they're getting the upgraded hardcovers, um, and it's going to be awesome. I think the big thing is how open creators are. I agree. The Bartons have been open with their delays, so I'm cool with it. Liefeld still hasn't given me my brigade in 9 years with no contact. Wow, that's it's unconscionable. Christina Lynn says the FBI raid bothers me too. You know what that FBI raid's going to do is it's gonna gin up uh, uh, even more support for Trump. Wiley draws should be a book should be 75% complete or more before launch. No, I don't agree with that. That's the whole point of crowdfunding is to get the funds to be able to do the book. If you could do 75% of it before launch, you might as well just do the whole damn thing, get it printed on your own dime if you have that much time and money. Um, that's the whole point of crowdfunding is that um, there's a lot of expenses and time that goes into it, and you got to keep the lights on. So by crowdfunding and having the money come in ahead of time, it allows the artists to sit down and get the work done and pay uh, team members, letterers, colorists, whatever you have to use, um, paginators, proofreaders, uh, and then the printers. You know, that's what you need that money for. So yeah, you don't need to have any percentage done. You just need to have a great idea and be honest um, and some pages or illustrations to show the backers what they're getting, you know. Dr. Masks, Retro Elixir, a lot of deadwood to clear out of the US government. Yes. I used to be against term limits because I always felt the ultimate term limit was the voters' booth. And that's what the founding fathers, intended for us to do. But they have rigged the system so bad in their favor that that's no longer the case. You throw voter apathy into there. Um, I we have a term limit on the president. I don't see why we can't have term limits on Congress as well. Get something. There's no reason Chuck Schumer should never have held a private sector job, or one of the Kennedys either. Not one of them ever worked a day in their lives. Joe Biden never worked a day in his life outside of government, and he's trying to tell businesses how to run. He has no experience with that. No, we got to get rid of these bums. Oh, George, this is a loaded question. What's better, Alien Alamo or the Chinook? Well, I'm not answering that. Uh, I will let uh, I will let the readers who have read both books decide. Uh, I like them both, but they're very different books. One's a straight up rated R horror film, and the other one is a father and son relationship story with a background of sci-fi. So, Daniel Russell says, "Launch now. I paid off my credit card." Well, keep it flush until I'm ready to launch. How did you get a hard copy of Chuck Dixon's book, Hunter Ninja Bear, before he did on a live stream with EVS a few weeks back? Uh, the publisher sent me one. Uh, I think it's as a result of my show that he wanted me to talk about it. I didn't ask for it; it just showed up. I'm like, oh, well, this is nice. And then I called Chuck up and said, "Hey, you want to come on and talk about this?" And he did. But yeah, it's a beautiful book. It's worth every penny. It's beautiful. Daniel Russell, does your Joe Frankenstein stuff tie in with your Compass verse? Absolutely. In fact, in the Shinu, there's a sequence where a character who's sort of a doubting Thomas about this mythological creature chastises everybody and says, "Oh, I'll bet you still believe that old chestnut about the kid and the monster living in the grain elevators," because that story also took place in Buffalo, and that was a direct reference to Joe Frankenstein. And Joe Frankenstein is the next book out after Ghosts of Matacumba Key. The next book in Compass Comics is going to be The Return of Joe Frankenstein. And then the next one is going to be the third in the Monster Island trilogy, Escape from Monster Island. I've been wanting to do that one for years, and there's some rights issues that have been resolved now. So now everything's returned to me. So that is high on my priority too. And in fact, Monster Island gets mentioned in Alien Alamo. If you look at the very last page and you look at the iPad that the character is looking at over on, it's a NASA website he's on. And on the side, uh, NASA denies floating island over Caspian Sea or something like that, um, which is a direct reference to Return to Monster Island. So yeah, all that stuff that I created, um, with the exception of the Girls of Dimension 13, because that is has a co-ownership by Aftershock Comics. So I can't weave that one in without getting into lawyers. And have you ever tried this stuff? Pepsi Zero with mango. Not my favorite. It's a little weird. Uh, let's see. Derail, he prefers Alien Alamo over the Chinook. He wants to know if George has read Monster Island, the Monster Island books. I'm gonna do. I'm gonna reprint Monster Island and Return to Monster Island uh, before the Escape comes out. I'm gonna do like a gold edition of both, like a gold cover, something like that. So like a real collectible type thing. And then when the third one comes out, then I'll collect uh, um, yeah, all three, like in some hardcover omnibus or some Ultimate Monster Island thing. Monster Island was the first of my Compass Comics books from 1998. I have has a very special place in my heart. Wiley Draws says, referring to my comment on his comment, I'm unknown and that's my plan. No launch until book is finished. Just saying. Hey, more power to you. If you can do that, great. Uh, I can't. I got mouths to feed and um, bills to pay and all that kind of stuff. So I have to uh, uh, crowdfund. You use the process so that everything can get paid on time. And there's nothing wrong with either way. Whatever works for you. Thanks. Glad to hear that was the reason and not other shenanigans. I'm trying to remember what question that was, Dr. Mask. Um, Oh, maybe remind me. Dr. Mask also loves the old book smell. Ah, Billy Dunleavy. Thoughts on Zany Bob Haney? He's my favorite DC writer, and yes, I realize he's crazy. Um, let's not forget Bob Haney is the one who had Batman say his bat sense was tingling, or his bat sense alerted him to something. Um, Haney, I like the stuff he did with Metamorpho, which I think was a good thing for him, but his Brave and Bold stuff was like this. You just didn't know what was going to happen. Sometimes some of that stuff was great. There's an Aquaman one which I really loved, one of the 60-cent giants. But then some of them are just like, oh, you don't get Batman. It's like I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan, to be honest. I love the smell of decaying pulp paper. Jim Steranko loves pulps. He's got a huge collection. Yeah, he does. I got a good collection of Doc Savage pulps, going back to the early 1930s. Bought them many, many years ago. My grandpa had an antique bookstore and it had that nice. Oh, wow. That's great, Christina. Graham, how goes the project with Chuck that I saw on LinkedIn? That's coming along really, really well. There's going to be a huge announcement about that. Um, he's referring to a corporation that Chuck and I are part of called SpinRack, and I'm not going to say too much more about it. But the corporation's been founded. It's being funded, and we're going to be announcing some really, really cool stuff coming out of SpinRack soon. So thank you for asking about that, even though I had to be a little coy about my answer. Dr. Mask heard me mention egg creams. George wants to know what an egg cream is. Um, there's no egg or cream in it. I don't know why it's called an egg cream. Uh, it's like Bosco type chocolate syrup, uh, seltzer, and milk. Maybe I think it's milk. I never liked them. They were huge in New York when I was a kid, and um, they never my favorite. Nick Capello says, "Who would be a better villain in a comic book? You, Chuck Dixon, Jeff Pierce, or Jean Francois?" Well, the French make great villains, Nick. So I'm going with Jean Francois. Nick and Jeff and Jean Francois and another partner, Melissa, are the Spin Rack team. And again, more about that coming soon. Let's see here. Oh yeah, Derail says Justified City Primeval is coming out too. Yeah, I can't wait for that. I guess they had to stop shooting. There was an actual shooting on the set or near the set or something like that, and they had to stop. Oh, Orogu Usagi says Justified seems like Justified is on Hulu. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was Hulu. Glad it's still there. That's one I want to revisit. I'm a little bit behind here because Marcus is referring to Carl Hyacin, who I mentioned. Yes, he does. He hasn't gone full on Stephen King liberal, But it's in there, and some books are in there more than others. His newest one kind of rails against Trump, so I didn't buy it. Leg Kick One is here. He says, "Hail, Graham." Dr. Mask referring to Dom Gomez. Once you move away from home, you'll wonder why you didn't do it sooner. That was my experience, and I got along with my family. Yeah, me too. I mean, I love my family, but it comes a time in a young man's life where you really got to go see the world. You got to go do things and meet people, and um, you know, have your ideas challenged. It's great. Rum Punch is also good. It was filmed as Jackie Brown. Yeah, I think that was a short story, like Fire in the Hole, which is what Justified was based on, even though Raylan appeared in books prior to Fire in the Hole. Oh, I'm getting some love for my Godzilla shirt. Very good. Hey, speaking of Dan Lawless, we were talking about you, Dan, because I had mentioned that Conan is going to be coming up as pub, into the public domain within a couple of years. I think, I think it's 2029 because it had to do with the death of Robert E. Howard. And it goes back, I think it's 95 years. But uh, there was a lot of stuff that should have come due, like particularly a lot of those Disney characters, um, and then they kept extending that in the U.S. And one of the guys that did the last extension, which really pushed it back, was idiot Sonny Bono from Sonny and Cher. So he didn't do us any favors there. I mean, my God, how long does this stuff have to stay after the guy's dead? And his family. I mean, come on. Jim Shooter to whip him in place. That's back to the DC question. Bretsky the Great is here. He says, salute chat. Salute, Mr. Nolan. Salute, Bretsky. Joseph Bernardo is here. He says, aloha, everybody. Jim Shooter would cancel 99% of the DC books right now. Yeah, he would. And then he'd go out and hire people with talent, um, a meritocracy, and not because of their gender, their skin color, their sexual orientation, or anything else. They would hire it because they were talented. Um, John F76, does it matter who replaces Jim Lee Warner? Management is the problem. Lee is just doing what he's told. You need to fire the higher ups and replace them with competent people. Well, as I said, Jim's a figurehead up there. He doesn't have any real power. But what they need, if they're going to have a publishing division, is they need to have somebody in charge of the publishing division, and that somebody has to allow autonomy in the editorial camps. Under DiDio's reign, everything had to go through him. He's a control freak. That everything, all the stunts and everything were all channeled through upper management, instead of allowing the editors to edit their books, their series of books. When I was there, we had there's the Superman office, the Batman office, Green Lantern, and then you had the Justice League, and some of the ancillary characters around that fell within the purview of certain other editors. But every one of them had the autonomy to a set the direction of the books, and hire the talent they wanted to hire to get those books sold. And that's, hire creatives to do creative things, support them, pay them properly, and give them the impetus to do this. Um, don't let management people who don't know shit about creativity run the show. Do you think the new guy in charge, you're talking about Zaslav, might be clearing house to right the ship at DC? I think DC is probably the smallest thing on his mind, because he's in charge of Warner's, and the money making machine of Hollywood. So I think he's got his work cut out for him. But so far, I like his attitude. He's just going in there, and full on burn mode. He's like DiCaprio at the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood with a flamethrower. Will you ever come down to Heroes Con in Charlotte? I had a great time hanging out with Andy and Billy. um, yeah, I don't know. I've never been invited to Heroes Con, so I don't actively seek conventions. So if they invite me, I'd consider it. To be honest, my convention schedule, I'm just cutting back and back and back because Encompass Comics and my new projects are taking all my time right now. It's not worth it for me, to take all that time and go down to the shows. The only time I really, really want to do them is when I know their friends are going to be there, and then it's more like, okay, well, I'll do the show so I can go hang out with my pals. Stippling wants to know if I'm using Fry Communications again for Giant Size Two Fisted Manly Tales. No, I'll be using API for Two Fisted Manly Tales. Nick is postulating if only there was a company that could deliver comics without supply chain issues. If only, Nick. Didn't get a notification at the start of this. Don't know if it's a YouTube tomfoolery, but thought I'd let you know. Okay. Does the skill of pushing reference develop over time? I think GL Mike 77 is referring to when I talk about the utilization of reference in your drawings, that you have to go beyond the photograph in front of you and push the drawing. Does the skill develop over time? Well, it develops like any skill. If you're cognizant of its need, if you're thinking about it when you're doing it, then yes. And you have to do that. You have to be cognizant of it. You have to be thinking of, okay, here's this car and it's very static looking. How do I make this car come to life? This inanimate object come to life? Well, if I change these angles of these lines and put more organic lines, motion into it, that will make it, uh, um, be more active on the page. So again, it's the stuff you have to be thinking about if you want to improve on it. Uh, Speaking of shortages, my pain doc this morning informed me they're facing a shortage of injections because the rubber stoppers are made in China. Oh, great. So I have that to look forward to. Well, we're building back better. Johnny Rando is here. As a backer, I appreciate being informed. Mr. Nolan has no equal in this department. Thank you, brother. That's unconscionable. The great Marv Levy, the former head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Nice. I've got a Starsky and Hutch shooting range set. Ah, they don't make toys like they used to. Like Kick One says, although we don't agree all the time, I appreciate your point of view and how you explain it. Well, I appreciate you saying that, like Kick One. We don't have to agree all the time. Nobody has to agree all the time. You just have to agree to um, respect the other person. Um, if they can, if they can defend their position and they can, with knowledge and not just passion, but you need passion too. But you have to have the knowledge to defend it so that you don't come off as just a raving nut, with it's all feelings and no facts. Um, then I think everybody should be able to get along. It's like, and then have a beer afterwards. It's like, all right, screw you, whatever, let's have a beer. That's how it used to be. I used to get into great conversations at the bar with friends, that, you know, had different ideologies or something, whether it's religion or politics or whatever. And then, you eventually just say, screw you, and then you go back to talking about the Yankees or something, or you talk about the things that you do share, you know. Everybody that's in here loves comics. So that's something we all share, whether the politics of it are shared or not. It's irrelevant. But one thing is certain is that we all want really good comics. We want to be entertained by them. Nobody wants a polemic shoved in front of them, whether it be a right wing or a left wing. I mean, you guys know me. I lean more to the right, and I don't want a right wing superhero comic book thrown in front of me. It's preaching. Who cares? I don't need you to tell me. Salary says that shirt is pretty badass. Yeah. Look at Mothra. Ooh, Son of Liberty Radio. I got Mike Barron's Thin Blue Line yesterday. Did an unboxing video last night. This book is good. I haven't gotten my copy yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Come from a family of cops, so I definitely wanted to support this. Quint, question. I'm a big Jaws fan. It's my favorite movie, and it made a big impression on me when I was a kid. I know you're a big movie buff. What are your thoughts on the film? Well, I remember when it came out in 1976 or 5. Might have been 75, Jaws. Um, I loved it. I mean, I grew up on the ocean. When I was real young, I lived on Long Island, 3 blocks from the beach. And then when my dad, who was a cop, retired, he moved us to Florida, which is where I was when Jaws came out. And then I was like 5 blocks from the beach. Um, and I remember after seeing the movie, my buddies and I were out in the ocean, we're swimming around and stuff, and I stepped on a skate, which is uh, sort of like a stingray. It's in the stingray family. It doesn't have a stinger, but it has um, uh, a chemical electric charge. And I stepped on the thing, and it's a little flat thing like a flounder, and it goes across. I stepped on it in the sand. It scared the piss out of me because we were just talking about Jaws, and I was high stepping out of there like a Will Elder cartoon, walking on water. We were talking about the movie, had it in my head. So yeah, it's a great film. In fact, it just showed up in our movie theater recently, our hometown theater, because they released it. I think as part of a Fathom event for the anniversary. And so I saw it on the big screen again for the first time, probably since the 1970s. And that movie still holds up. I mean, the characters, the tension, and everything still holds up. It's just a great film. I have to watch it again. I like to watch that in the summer. Hey, Jaime Diaz, how are you? Ah, Kevin Delgado, the Chenier beer was good. Is that still available? Um, I don't know. I don't know if 42 North still has any cans left in their fridge. Um, I still have some cans in my fridge. I usually wait till winter because it's an imperial stout. It won't go bad. It will just continue to age. Unlike say an IPA, if you had that in there for 2 years, toss it. It's not going to be any good. But this imperial stout will continue to age. Um, so once it gets cold again, I'll pop that out because that bad boy's like a well, it started off as like an 8%. It's probably a 12 now. What do you think about having some of the Alterna guys on your show? Also, you should invite Razor Fist on. He is a novel writer and a huge pulp and western fan. Well, thank you for that. I will look into that. Will I be at New York Comic Con in October? No, too crowded. It's too big a show. I'm not. I'm not into that. So I don't go to San Diego either. It's just sensory overload. Another guy, Salsa Start wants to know about the Chinook Stout. Dr. Mass says they've done a trade of Girls of Dimension 13. Any thoughts, including copies in your next campaign, like Aaron did with Garbage Man? I'd have to see if I could get copies. I have some, comp copies that were sent to me. But for a campaign, I'd have to buy a ton of them. But it's possible. I'll have to look into that. That would be good, a good addition. But the thing is that Aaron owns Garbage Man outright, and so I don't own. Even though I created Girls of Dimension 13, I split ownership with Brett Blevins, the artist, and the other 50% goes to is owned by Aftershock. A lot of coffee talk here. Harry B says Alien Alamo was a fun book. With how it ended, I'd love to see an Alien Alamo 2 in the future. Um, I don't know if you backed John Size Two Fisted Manly Tales, but there's a story in there called Buck Thornton Always Gets His Man, written by me with illustrations by Kelsey Shannon. And the aliens from Alien Alamo get a name and they appear in that book. So we learn a little bit about them. All right, Nick is going in with the egg cream recipe. Fox says, you bet chocolate flavor syrup, cold whole milk. Okay, so far so good. I said Bosco, but same stuff. And milk. No, half and half. No. Or cold club soda or seltzer water. Yeah. Yep. I think I had it right. Maybe the club soda would be better than the seltzer because the seltzer has kind of a salty taste to it, right? I'm not sure about club soda. My cousin, Matthew Nolan from New Jersey. Hey, Matt, what kind of trouble are you and your brother going to get into when he gets there? My brother is moving from Atlanta up to Western New York in September, and it'll be the first time we've been in, you know, um, barbecue distance since 1983. He went his way, I went my way. We live in different states, our careers, marriages, all that kind of stuff. But he just retired from the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and he's looking to get out of Georgia and he found a great little place in Orchard Park, and he's gonna go there in September. So, uh, uh, to answer Matt, what kind of trouble we gonna get into? Uh, we're gonna get into Nolan trouble, Matt. So read into that what you will. Yeah. Funny, I was first introduced to egg creams in the Marv Wolfman Gene Colan Night Force miniseries. I had to search one out after that. What'd you think of it? Was it any good? Hey guys, as we're going through this, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It's free, and hit those like buttons. It helps with the algorithms, and it helps me out, so I'd appreciate it. Uh-oh. He died a little inside when I said I don't love Haney. Just kidding. I understand he's not for everybody. Like I said, I loved his Metamorpho stuff. Love those. That seemed right in his wheelhouse. That kind of oddball kind of stories. Doing straight up Batman stories. Again, he was hit and miss. Uh, Anyone see the movie Squirm? That's the first place I saw what an egg cream is. I saw Squirm. I don't remember an egg cream in that. Didn't that take place in the South though? About the worms with the like the flesh eating worms. I remember when the first issue of Starlog came out in 1976, I think it was, had the great Star Trek cover on it and everything. Uh, and one of the stories in there was about Squirm. That's the first time I saw it, and I never saw the movie until just a few years ago. Thoughts on Batman Odyssey by Neil Adams? I actually love it, but acknowledge that it's different. Well, I'll just say this: as a writer, Neil Adams is an incredible artist, and leave it at that. Peyton Holden is CG late books. Ethan and Dan are really pissing me off. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Uh, Johnny Randall says he bought the novelization of Major Dundee and some Max Brand westerns at a used bookstore today. Graham would love this store. Oh, that's cool. I'll be interested in hear your take on the Major Dundee novelization, because that was a hot mess when it came out. So I wonder if it got clean, if they was able to pull it all together in the novelization. Hey there, Mutt Man. I hope you all enjoyed the Professionals Royale last night. 6 a.m. did an awesome job putting it together. Yeah, you guys did a just yeoman's work on that. That was so much fun. If you missed the Bros last night, these guys put together the Royale. It's like a WWE wrestling match, and last night was a tag team. And the winners ended up being Art T. Bear and Andy Smith. Um, but it's like this AI. Is it AI? Is that what I guess the generated fight sequences and stuff? And they put our logos on banners in the background and on the professional logo on the wrestling mat. I mean, it's really really cool. Uh, Look it up on YouTube and watch it. It's a lot of fun. Thank you, man. All right. What's the Graham Nolan workout? I think Shane Davis mentioned doing it. Something like six specific exercises, maybe. What he's talking about probably is I alternate depending on what my goals are, and my 60-year-old body needs a break from certain lifts. So I have to, lighten loads and stuff like that. But what Shane's talking about is basically what's called a 5 by 5, where you do 5 sets of 5 reps, and you do all compound exercises, and you do them like 3 days a week. So what you would do would be, you start with a compound exercise, like the 5 main compound exercises: squats, overhead presses, bench press, um, bent over rows, and deadlifts. So those are all multi-joint exercises. So you use, almost every muscle in your body when you're doing specifically deadlifts uh, and squats. So you'll do 3 of those exercises on a Monday, 3 of them on a Tuesday, and then alternate, or not Tuesday, Wednesday. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you do 5 reps and 5 sets of each one of them. It's a strength building program, and each time you do it, you add more weight to it until you can't do the 5 reps or the and then you stay there until you can get it and get past it. So it requires a lot of dedication, but you get a lot of bang for your buck. You got to take in a lot of calories if you want to build. Um, but it's a great program. I cycle in and out of that probably once a year. Marcus, Jaws 75, Star Wars 77, not 76. Rocky was 76. Star Wars 77. Well, Johnny lives 3 blocks from the beach too. Good for you. Hobby Halbert, he's from Long Beach. Ah, East End or West End? I actually lived in both. Um, my grandparents' home was in the East End, and we lived in the canal section there. And then we moved to the West End, I think in 1969, somewhere around there, we moved to the West End. But a couple other Long Beach boys, Joey Cavalieri and Greg Gold. Joey was an editor at DC, and Greg Goldstein, who was a CFO over at IDW, both West End Long Beach kids. Do you have a favorite Godzilla film? I'm fond of Godzilla versus Megalon. Saw it in the theater. Yes, I'm that old. Um, my favorite is Gojira. The very first Godzilla, of course. But then I have a special place in my heart for Destroy All Monsters. Uh, that and King Kong versus Godzilla. Uh, King Kong versus Godzilla has my favorite Godzilla in it. The costume changed like every film or every other film, something like that. But by 1962, he had that alligator look. He's much more reptilian looking with a longer snout and less pushed in. I love that look in that one. But Kong, oh my God, he looked horrible. Amity, as you know, means friendship. The beaches are open. The beam pad says, "Hail Graham, hail chat." Hey, Vaughn, do any of the people who worked on Two Fisted Manly Tales still work at the Big Two? Um, I don't think so. I can't think of anybody that is still working uh, at the Big Two that worked on that. They all should be if they wanted to, but who wants to now? The whole paradigm has changed. You can do so much more on your own now if you have the drive, if you have the talent to write and illustrate, and you have that motivation, because it's a lot of work. You got to wear a lot of hats. You got to do a lot of promotion, a lot of shows, and you got to reach your audience. It's not for everybody, But if you have that, um, then there's no going back, and it's the greatest thing in the world. Well, here's another Long Island gal. Hello, Lil. My recipe calls for Fox's You Bet whole milk, no half and half, and seltzer. There it is. Collectors Express logged in and liked the stream. Thank you. Thumbs up, sir. Thumbs up from everybody. Let's get those thumbs up. I only got 16 of them. We got 52 people in here. I want to see that hit 52, people. Hit that like button. It won't bite, I swear. Squirm 76. Yep. Yeah, I figured it was because that's when the first issue of Starlog came out. He's a Bosco man. Uh, Spin rack, great. Something else to get excited about. Yeah, definitely. Wait till you hear. Herb Bond says, what do we have coming up after Two-Fisted Manly Tales? Well, we have the Ghosts of Matacumba Key. We have the Chenu plushie. We have the Return of Joe Frankenstein. And we have Escape from Monster Island. Those are the 4 things on the docket right now. Oh, you grew up in Lido, then moved into the canals in the East End. Okay, cool. What street? We lived on Harmon. The second to last one. I think it ends at Chester. Paul wants to know if there's a difference between a Chinu and a Wendigo. Yeah, there is some differences. Different tribes, for one thing, acknowledge those creatures, and there's some differences in them. I can't exactly go into what they are, but I remember looking them up. Awesome shirt, man. What's your favorite cigar under $10? I just had an acid. There's no well, there was an I can't remember what it was, but it was made by acid. It was like $7. It's probably cheaper where you are, Dennis, because I'm paying New York taxes on that, and the tobacco taxes are through the friggin' roof. Then there's another one called Stogie Boys, which I think those might be just made for my cigar club. Those are $8.50, something like that. Those are good too. Rogue Usagi says he sees 100 likes. Prater7 says 102. Okay. I'm just looking up on my screen here. It just says, oh, wait, those are Facebook likes that are just showing here. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Well, good. Prater7's been a great stream. Thanks for taking all the questions, too. Oh, this is fun. What's your favorite horror movie? Mine's Halloween. It's a great one. My favorite horror movie is also my favorite movie, and that is 1951's The Thing from Another World. I watch that a couple times a year. I just love that movie. Now I'm imagining a Batman illustration in Long Beach. Well, if you're ever in the West End, well, first off, if you're in the East End, you got to stop into Nolan's Pub because that was my dad's. That was my dad's pub. He started that in the early 1960s, and then when he became a cop, he had to sell the pub because of conflict of interest. So the owner who bought it kept the name Nolan's, and it's been there ever since, and it's sort of a staple. in Long Beach, became a cop and lifeguard bar in the East End. Um, when we moved to the West End, and my dad was a cop, well, the cop bar there was Shines, and Shines is still there as well. I think it's the oldest bar in Long Beach. Great bar, both of them. Great bar, great people running them. Uh, uh, at uh, at Shines, there's actually a copy of Joe Frankenstein that hangs on the wall there, because I put a Shines logo at a bar in the background, and I sent it to them, and they have that hanging there. So if you're ever in the West End, pop in there. Ah, there we go. Oh wow, that's so cool. I had no idea about Nolan's Pub. Of course, everyone knows that bar. No taps. The bar just serves ice cold canned beer, but it's always great. JDC says Trump Graham in 2024. Oh, Trumpy would fire me. Christy. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. Never saw the original, only the Carpenter version. I'll have to check it out. It's very different from the Carpenter version, um, but I love it better because I love the characters. Have you ever read the original story, Frozen Hell? No, the original story is called Who Goes There by John Campbell. And yes, I have read it. It's a lot closer to the Carpenter version. In fact, the names, like Copper and McCready and all that, those are names from Carpenter's or from Campbell's book. Uh, but the characters are so much more likable and believable, like they are in the 1951 version. So it sort of shares a little of a little bit of both in the film. But I find it interesting that he describes McCready in the book as a giant of a man with bronze skin. He's like 6'4". McCready's a beast, and you can tell he's the leader. And he describes him basically as Doc Savage, which I thought was just fascinating when I was reading it. It's good. It's good short story. The whole thing with the blood testing and everything. But like the original, it ends on a happy note. It ends on a good note. Whereas, like, of course, um, just from the era that Carpenter grew up in, everything is he's ex hippie, don't trust the establishment type of stuff. And so he ended his movie on a sort of a downer, you don't trust anybody. But the book ends on a more positive note, which I liked. All right, my friends. Um, we've gone out now about hour and a half. I guess what I wanted to ask everybody is, what are you watching? What's good out there? There's so much stuff, and you're like, oh, what should I watch? And you get analysis paralysis. Couple things I'm watching right now is I'm getting caught up on Westworld, and that's a trippy show on HBO Max. A little hard to follow, particularly if I have it on when I'm working. It really requires your attention when you're watching this thing, and even then, um, it's a little tough to follow sometimes. Resident Alien on the Sci-Fi Network is a riot, and that's starting up again. That's another good show. Evil on Paramount Plus, I'm watching. Um, I'm liking that one a lot too. I wasn't sure if I was liking it or not when the first two uh, seasons. I think it was a little. I wasn't sure what direction they were going. Um, but I'm in the third season now, and I'm enjoying that. And I just finished The Offer, which is uh, the story of how The Godfather got made, dramatized, of course, with actors. And An interesting thing, I was thinking when I was watching it is like the guy who plays the producer of The Godfather. Um, what's the character's name? Luddy. No, not Luddy. Yeah. Anyway, doesn't matter. Um, uh, Miles Tiller's the actor's name. He'd be perfect as Finnebar in a Joe Frankenstein movie. I was looking at him. I'm like, God, if I was to cast somebody, that's who I would cast. He's really good. And speaking of really good, Anthony Clark and Anthony Gonzalez Clark is here. He's a fantastic artist. He's doing My Sister Suprema with Chuck Dixon over at Arctunes. If you guys haven't checked that out, please do so. Anthony is his color work and his line work are great. His drawings are he really knows. We were talking about pushing the drawing before. This guy knows how to really push a drawing and get the most out of the emotion and characterizations. So look up Anthony's work, or yeah, he's excellent. Thanks for stopping in. Christina is watching One Piece and Tiger and Bunny. Oh, I guess okay. Those are anime. Okay. Doctor Mask rewatching Warehouse 13 and Doctor Who. Just watched Creature from the Black Lagoon for the umpteenth time. That's always a classic. Twirly Wolf says Primal is awesome. Oh, okay. Well, what platform is that on, Christina? I feel like I've seen it. I've seen the title somewhere, so it must be something I have. Okay. Oops, Stranger Things. Rob Younce is here. He says Stranger Things and classic horror, always classic horror. Yeah. All right. Tokyo Vice on HBO. True story of uh, American-born reporter investigating the Yakuza. Oh, that's cool. That does sound neat. No problem, Anthony. I call it like I see it. You're very talented. Great stuff, my friend. Great stuff. Oh, Citizen Rome, where are you watching Kojak? Because I'd like to catch some Kojak. Those are good. Who loves you, baby? Dr. Mask is watching Doctor Who with David Tennant. Okay. All right. Well, it's 8:40. I think it's still warm enough outside for me to go out and have a nice stogie and contemplate this wonderful conversation we've been able to have tonight. I want to thank everybody for stopping in and sharing and asking questions and stuff. This is my favorite type of show to do. Is yeah, I enjoy the interviews sometimes, but those are a lot of work, and this is a lot more relaxing and a lot more organic. I think just hanging out with my friends here and having conversations, and I think that's what it's all about. And I really enjoy this a lot. Um, so thank you again, everybody, for coming in. You've been great. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. And some big announcements are coming out of here soon, and I hope to stay tuned and continue supporting those Compass comics. Oh, I can't go yet. I've got a super chat from Manowar665, neighbor of the beast, for 665. That seems apropos. Thank you, sir. Been a while since catching you live. Sick of my favorite IPs dying. So sitting back, having a drink, and listening to another ornery cuss talk funny books. Well, I don't know if I'm ornery. Maybe I am sometimes. I guess I am sometimes. Um, but it only comes out of love. Because I'm so passionate about the art form. Uh, it's all I ever wanted to do, and there are forces that are trying to burn it to the ground, and so that does get my ire up or my Irish up, uh, and um, um, and it's forced me to do something about it. So um, I guess I'll fess up and say I am ornery at times. But thank you so much, and thank you everybody. You guys have a great night, and we will see you probably Monday on the Kings. Take care now. Bye bye.